Thank you for being here today.
Well, you're welcome. And thank both of you. This is definitely time for us to come together and just share our knowledge and to be able to connect with people, right? So I want to make sure the people that are on YouTube, I do apologize. There was an error with the start of this, so it you probably didn't get the first inception of it, but I apologize that that didn't come over. We'll make sure that the full recording is baked in on YouTube. But I wanted to make sure it is live now. I see it. You should see it as well. If there's a problem, please put it in the chat and we will make sure that you are all good. And for those who are out there that are listening, we want to hear from you as well. My sister is calling and saying, I don't know why she's calling me right now. I'm not going to be distracted though. We got stuff to do. So I'm hoping that she will come on and we will be able to conversate with each other. But here we go.
No,
Bless you.
Thank
So
you.
today we want to make sure, like always, we create space where it's not just us talking, right? We don't want to just talk and you listen. That's not what we do. We want to hear from you too. So we want you to dive in. We want you to be a part of the conversation. We want you to share your experiences, your truths. So get your fingers ready to start typing in that chat so we can hear what you have going on. Again, Rosalind, thank you so much for joining us and help us to kind of navigate this, because this is something that I know I'm struggling with. And sometimes I think I have it all together, but I don't. So to have
None
you,
of us do, Amico.
yeah, still trying to figure this out, right? But this is really good. So that's what Ashley got a little comment in here. She said YouTube just started working. It might be why she was calling. So we were in the waiting room waiting for it to load. So it's on now. So again, apologize for the inconvenience. We're trying to work through this thing. Sometimes you think you got it all done because I did schedule this 2 weeks ago. However, we still have technology issues that come up every now and then. But here we are. And we're so excited to get started. I do want to start with the audience and ask you all a question. Before I bring Rosalind in, and we have some questions for Rosalind. She's going to, really help us kind of understand some of this grief while someone is still living, right? And I don't see anybody on Facebook Live yet, but I do see a couple people on YouTube. So I want to just ask, have you ever grieved someone who is still alive? And you don't have to give us all the details. Just let us know that you're here and you resonate with feeling that grief when someone is still living. Or drop us your story. If you feel comfortable, we would love to hear your story as well. But let's start with you, Andre. Do you have you ever grieved someone who's still alive?
I would say yes. Maybe not just one person. Sometimes in relationships, we think we have a certain type of connection because of the person's title. And there's an expectation that goes with that title sometimes. But sometimes they don't reciprocate. So it can be son, dad, son, mom, whoever it may be. And there's an expectation. You're my mom, you're my dad, or whoever you may be to me. So I expect a relationship with you. I expect that you love me because I love you.
Yeah.
I expect that you care because I care.
Right.
And I expect because we're family, we can respond as family members do.
Right.
To my understanding as a younger person. But as I got older, I realized, and I always say this, family members are people too.
Yeah.
And behind those people are stories. And some of those stories, there's grief, there's pain, there's disappointment, there's discouragement. There's a lot of things that have helped shape the way they are reluctant to engage in relationships on certain levels. So we have to, this is what I always ask people when they say they have an issue with a parent or anyone. I said, do you know them? And he looked at me like I'm crazy. Like, what do you mean? It's my mom. What do you mean? That's my grandmother. I said exactly what I said. Do you know them? How many questions have you presented to them about their life, about their mind, about their heart, about their past? Or do you just operate because there's a title attached to them and you treat them accordingly?
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, no, I never did ask any questions like that. That's what you don't know them. When you see them, you expect something from them and of them, but you don't know them.
Yeah.
So we're responding to what we see, what we expect, and not what we know. And I'll pause.
That sounds good to me. And I'm a grief coach, not a therapist, so I will not even act in that lane. They're two different things, as I hope everyone knows. And then this podcast is not for us to coach anyone, right? As Andre and Omikio said, it's just a space. It's just a safe space for us to get more grief awareness, to develop our own language around grief and around our own experiences. One thing I will say, what Andre describes though resonates with myself and a lot of clients, where it might not be an actual loss, it's a longing. And it may not just be a longing, but it's a longing that's based off of your standards, your expectations, your needs, and your wants. So that may not necessarily be a loss with respect to what we're talking about. However, it is an opportunity to create, if the opportunity is there, for some level of relationship agreement, some type of foundational relationship, no matter where the relationship is in the journey of you and with that other person. And so just want to make sure, and not that Andre was, but for the listening audience, that we don't conflate or merge the two, because that one right there is also a tricky one too.
Mm-hmm. I know when we talked a couple, well, it was actually once we got off of our first series, we talked about this, and you called it ambiguous loss.
Yeah.
And I never thought about that. There is a longing that I have wanted from a parent, but that I wasn't able to get what I long for. And after knowing a little bit more, to Andre's point, knowing the person and finding out more about them, sometimes you have to come to the realization that that individual does not have the capacity to be what you need them to be. So can you talk to us about ambiguous loss?
I can. It's so you teed it up with such great examples. You mentioned dementia. I think you even mentioned, when we were trying to get our YouTube folks on, about different relationship dynamics. There's even the ambiguous loss when just relationships change.
Yeah.
It didn't necessarily end, it just changed, right? So you have that. And then let us not forget those that maybe someone is missing. You don't know where they are. They've disappeared. So what I want to do is, if it's okay with you all and the audience, is really, really get some understanding around, when we talk about life, life is a series of events and transitions, right? Can we all agree on that?
Yes.
So you have loss is an event.
Mm-hmm.
Loss is an event that includes some sort of transition. Okay, so it's the event. Grieving is actually the season. The season. And with grieving, you have to be willing to actually go through the season, to enter it. Okay. So first you have to be able to, in your words, recognize that I experienced a loss and accept it on some form, while you may still be making some reasoning about it. And then you go through your grieving season for however long that may be, and whatever that looks like for you, but it's a sacred transition as you then transition to the next journey, which is never ending, which is grief. Navigating with grief as your natural companion in life and guide. So when we talk about ambiguous loss, we say it in the simplest terms, that ambiguous loss is the experience of an event where you have lost a person, a relationship, or thing. And what makes it a little complex is that that thing is still present in some capacity.
Mm-hmm.
It's still present, yet it's gone.
Mm.
It's gone. It's absent from you. It's absent from your presence.
Yeah.
And so what we have to understand with that is that as a society, it's not necessarily recognized as a legitimate grief or loss because, to your point earlier, it doesn't come with a death certificate. There's no obituary. There wasn't a funeral.
No.
And a lot of times you hear people say, what are you talking about? They're still here. So we
Right.
want to understand what that means. That is what we call an ambiguous loss or grief.
Yeah.
And to Andre's point, when you're dealing with those relationships that although that may not have been an ending or anybody's absent, there was nothing there, but it's a longing that you have and a need that you have. And there is something in there that you are grieving that perhaps is related to just you and your needs, maybe not related to any event.
Yeah.
Does that help? Does that make sense?
Yes.
It does.
Okay.
I want to pause for a moment because we have some people that I see that are online. We have Michiko, we have Tosh, we have V. Hey. We have Ashley that I can see on YouTube. There may be some more people that are watching. I can't see all of who you are unless you post something in one of the chats and then I can see your name. But what we're talking about is grief while someone is having grief when someone is still alive. And if you can see on the screen, we would like to hear from you. Have you ever grieved someone who's still alive? So
And
we'll
it can be something too, Omikyo.
Yeah.
It could be
Yeah.
you lost a job or you lost a title or a role
Exactly.
or something that is still present, but it's gone to you. And it's not necessarily physical, but it is a situation. It was an event. It was something significant in your life, but you still earn the right to grieve because that is what your body is telling you. You're grieving it. It's an ending of some sort or an absence for you.
No, it's good points so far.
Yeah.
I mean, some nuggets to think about, some things to process, and hopefully we'll have some people to share with us.
If not, I definitely have a share.
No, can you share? Go ahead and share. I want to say hey to cousin Deja, but definitely share because I think what's different is all those key elements that you just said. We don't think about them as something that we grieve, and it's just something to your point. And I think Michiko said, with this little emoji. So, yeah. So
Michiko. I love it. It's, let me tell you when I first experienced it. So just a little bit, and I'm not going to hog it because we're going to give people a chance, but I want to open this up. Me being a vessel, I'm being very transparent with you. I'm being a vessel to open this up for everyone else. Safe space. So I'm inviting you by way of my story and then you thinking about your story and your experience and maybe in a different way that you've never thought about. So I think most of you know that, and if you don't, my journey with grief started when I was 4 years old. My mother was diagnosed with Crohn's disease and then later on diagnosed with colon and stomach cancer. So at that time, I was already grieving and didn't know it. I didn't have the language for it. I didn't have the language for it, everybody, until years ago, going through my own therapy, my own coaching. This is before I became professionally certified, but I was becoming a professional expert on my own, right? And I was dealing with anticipatory grief, but I was also dealing with ambiguous grief because my mother, who was once active and once present in so many ways and lively, her health was declining. So she had physical disabilities. She wasn't always able to be physically present. She was in pain, going through so many surgeries. So I started to deal with ambiguous grief early on. I had a longing for a parent to be present, but in a lot of ways, I had to be a parent to her and a caretaker to her, along with my father and my sister, because she wasn't able. So there's an ambiguous loss. Another example is now you fast forward. So she passed away when I was 16. Then you fast forward to shortly thereafter, my father just checked out.
Mm.
His world shifted. That was his best friend.
Yeah.
That was his life. So his identity, everything changed. So he just shut down. And in some respects, he became someone different than who I knew.
Mm.
So in some respects, I lost a part of my father that I knew, and the level of support that he provided before, although he was still responsible and doing the responsible thing, but that longing, that connection was disconnected because he had become disconnected because of his journey and challenges with grief.
Mm.
So I hope that resonates with y'all. And I knew I was grieving, and I knew I wanted my father. And the only language I had was, I want my father. I want my daddy. Where
Mm.
are you? You're not the same. What's going on?
Yeah.
And I wasn't understanding he was grieving at that
Mm.
time. And then I wasn't understanding that I was dealing with an ambiguous loss and grief
Yeah.
in that capacity until years later that I developed and learned the language for it.
Wow. Wow. Well, thank you for sharing, because again, when you think about grieving someone that's still alive, as you were talking, I even thought about, as we were growing up, my father he was in the home, but he was always working.
Mhm.
And my kids probably can relate to this because I'm in the home. A good part of their childhood, I was in the home, but I was always working. So I think about that, wanting that father, wanting, to spend some time. I have that now though, which I love that I have that connection now where we can talk for hours on end. But as a child, I was missing that piece, but I didn't know what to call it. He's there, but that relationship wasn't what I longed for. We got a couple more people that joined. Hey, Felicia. Hey, Tanika. And hey, Courtney. Thank you all for joining us. I know there's probably a little bit more people out there, but I can't see unless you post in the chat. So once you post in the chat, I'll give you a shout out. But what we're talking about today is grieving someone who is still alive. And we've already talked about what ambiguous loss means. We talked about when you first realized that, grief wasn't just when you can you talk? When you first realized that grief wasn't about just death, that you could be grieving someone while they're still alive. I want to just pause and throw it out to the audience because there's a couple of people that told us that they wanted this topic. So I want to hear from you. Give you time to put something in the chat. I do have something in the chat on YouTube, and the person said, "What about pets?"
Pets, it's a different loss. It's not ambiguous loss. There is a name for it, and it slips my mind right now. But that's not considered an ambiguous loss because the pet actually did die. And you did say pets, right?
Right. What about
Right.
pets? Mm-hmm.
The pet actually did die. They're no longer physically present. So
Right.
that's not ambiguous loss. What we're talking about is another example would be, and giving grace, right, to the viewers. Some people may not be chatting because you're trying to wrap your mind around it. It's a complicated subject. We don't name it, and we don't
Yeah.
really give space and permission for it. I'll give you another example. When I went through my divorce after 17 years of marriage in 2019,
Mm-hmm.
I was getting folks that were saying, congratulations. They were saying, what happened? Whose fault was it? Blah, blah, blah. I had to explain to them, you guys, this is something sacred, just as if a death happened. I'm not comparing the two, but most people don't go into a marriage saying we're going to get divorced. They go in with a level of commitment. This is a form of a loss. So you haven't just lost that relationship in a lot of ways, because my former husband was my best friend and we still remained best friends and family until he died 3 years after our divorce. But it still was different. You're not seeing your best friend every day. The boundaries change and shift because your relationship dynamics are shifting. and you see that person. And while there may be some parts of you that long for what used to be, you're still accepting and gravitating and navigating into the new normal.
Yeah.
So that's an example of why this might be so hard for people to wrap their heads around, because a lot of people will say, well, what are you crying for? They're still here. You're still friends. It was an amicable divorce. What do you mean? They're still here. And what are you crying for? You got your life ahead of you. You got this.
Yeah.
You'll date again. And it's like, no, pause.
Yeah.
Pause and give space to that sacred moment of an ending of something so sacred, and all of the emotions and the adjustments that go with that. And then
Okay.
who you shift to be. Go ahead, Omikio.
No, I just wanted to go back because there's another comment that's around the pets, right? During the time she was sick, the pet was sick. It was over a span of 4 to 5 years with feline leukemia. In that moment, would that count prior to the passing? So
Sure.
it's ambiguous prior to the passing, right? So
now that is ambiguous, because you're already, not only is it ambiguous, that's probably more of an anticipatory, because you know they're going to pass, you know it's coming. Almost like when you know someone's terminally ill, like I explained with my mother, that I knew this potentially is coming. The other part that could be ambiguous about that, though, is perhaps, and I don't want to speak to your experience, so if you want to give more detail, please feel free. Perhaps that pet is not as lively as they used to be. Maybe they're not as present. Maybe they're not able to give you the level of energy that they used to. And so they're starting to go on their decline. So you, for lack of a better word. And so that could feel ambiguous, but that's likely more of anticipatory. They're still present with you. They didn't mentally or psychologically check out because they're a pet.
Right.
You know, so like with dementia, you have someone who's present, but psychologically, because their brain is on a decline, psychologically, they've checked out. The example that I gave with my father, emotionally and in some respects psychologically, he started to just check out. Does that help? Please let me know.
It did. They responded with exactly the second part happened prior to passing. So thank you for breaking that down and explaining it. We do have another comment. We do have another comment in the chat. Tanika stated, I am grieving my marriage and my soon-to-be ex-husband. That has to be very hard for you, sis. I know it was a lot that you shared in our time that we've been together, that you definitely tried all things before it got to this point. So we're standing with you and knowing that this is difficult for you, and know that we're here for you. I'll lean into Andre, then and then we'll toss it over to Rosalind if she wants to add.
I don't know, this particular topic, pretty much got me thinking, about past relationships, relationships that kind of just ended without any conflict or anything happened. They just, people, as we said, we grow apart. Those people used to be close, you're not close to anymore, and that's what happened. Okay. And we take different routes sometimes. And sometimes people don't decide to stay on the same page, or they decide to do something different. And you decide something different. And without speaking, you just kind of separate. But just sit down and think about these things, this topic tonight, and think about your life. Sometimes you're like, wow, I used to be really close to so-and-so. I used to be really close to him or her. We used to talk all the time. What happened? And sometimes you don't have an answer. And you start thinking about it and you're like, we had some good times. So it's almost as if they're not here anymore, because you don't see them, you don't talk to them. And there's an opportunity, but you're reluctant to reach out because you feel like we've done so much time and so much space. Where's the common ground? Or do we have it anymore?
Yeah.
So I've just been sitting here thinking, as you all been speaking about just life, the journey, the friends that used to be, even the family members, used to be close to. Seems like everybody's found their own neutral corners these days, and that's how we operate. I don't know. Just thinking today.
So the one thing I would add is with that, and I'm sorry, what was the young lady's name? Momikia?
Which one? Was it Tanika? Tanika, yeah.
Tanika, you have my greatest and sincerest empathy.
Mm-hmm.
And what I want to encourage you to do, if it's okay, if you accept this, is, and if you haven't done it already, is we can do all the processing that we can about the other person. Unless that other person is able to speak for themselves and speak truth for themselves to you about the situation, and you may not even be looking for that. What I would encourage you is start to seek what is true for you. Because what's actually happening, the transition is happening, and it sounds like it's going to happen, right? And now you are going into a different transition where there's going to be the loss, meaning the event itself. So you're going to go through the actual divorce, then the business around it before and after that, then whatever other shifts that have to be made, just tactically and practically thinking. And then at the same time, your nervous system and your brain and your emotions are processing. And then you're going to finally have the moment to sit. And when you're sitting, and it's so natural for us to ruminate and think about the other person and why this, why didn't they, why didn't they? And I'm going to encourage you and everybody to ask yourself this first question. What is it that I'm feeling now? What is it that this grief and this loss is telling me now? What am I feeling? And then journal that, write that down, speak it out. You can speak with other people. I would encourage you to, but trusted people, unbiased people, people who are experts in the area, or people who can truly be a true listening ear and not give so much advice from their perspective. And then start to make your meaning, what does this mean for me? What does this emotion mean for me? And what life do I want to have going ahead? And how do I get there? You start to journal those things, and you're starting to shift yourself already, because what's happening is you're not just dealing with the ambiguous loss now, then you're going to be dealing with the actual loss of it. Then you're going to start having some meaning-making things. Things will come up and you'll put a label on it, and others will too. And really, it's just meaning-making. You're trying to make meaning around it. And then in some respects, your identity is shifting because you're no longer wife on the surface. Now you are the same at the core, but on the surface, you're no longer wife, which was in depth in itself. So now you have to start saying, what does that mean for me? And how do I start mapping that out for me? It is not an easy process, but it is a transformative process. And you can and you will get through this. Give yourself grace, give yourself nurture, give yourself space and rest and pause and listen to yourself. Grief does not come to wreck you. Grief does not come to cause you pain. Grief comes to shed light on a situation, to give you a signal of what you need, and open you up so you can determine how to get there or get the support you need. I hope that helped. I sincerely mean that.
That's good. We do have a few more comments in the chat. Michiko said, I get it. During my grief process with her daughter, Sean, who passed away last year, she was terminated from her job. It added to what I was already going through. Is that considered ambiguous? I was so angry, and I experienced the same with my daddy, but mine wasn't because he was thrust in his job. It was from his environment. He didn't want people to think or accuse him of molesting, touching me inappropriately. OMG. And this is what she posted. She posted it, OMG. We went from not seeing one without the other, hugs sitting on the floor, by the way, his legs watching between his legs, watching Westerns, to no touch, kissing on the jaw, holding hands. You can go on and on. So
Okay, there's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's
I
a
may,
lot there.
I may have misheard some parts of it, but what I did hear is something with some level of abuse that is a form of a trauma.
Yes,
So that's a
yes,
different type of thing. And we have trauma specialists and therapists for that.
Yeah.
So I would highly recommend that
Yeah.
that conversation and that support need goes to trauma counselors and specialists, because that is a level and it's very complex. Now, at the form of a level of what we're talking about from the form of a podcast, because we don't get our therapy and coaching from a podcast, it's more education, awareness, enlightenment, and support, right? But what I can give you as a coach and ethically speaking is to say to you now, if you went from this level of affection to the relationship shifted, the person was still here, they're still present, but yet they're gone. That level of the relationship is gone for whatever reason it was. Yes, that is a form of ambiguous loss. So again, I'll say this again, and we'll keep saying it over and over, because the reason why you all are speechless is because it's complex. And I could talk about it ad nauseum because I've mastered it, right? I've lived it. I have the language. I'm a professional in it personally and professionally. So again, it's when the person, place, or thing is still present, yet it is gone from your presence.
Yeah.
Michiko, does that help? Let us know.
Tanika, while we're waiting for Michiko, Tanika said thank you for that. So you did help her with that. And while I'm waiting for Michiko to respond, there was one more from V who said she grieved the loss of a friendship. We used to work together. So we saw each other 4 to 5 days a week. It took a long time to process that loss. It also took a while for people to stop asking what happened, because I refused to speak negatively about her or engage.
First of all, kudos to you.
Yes.
What we don't do, even if, and I'm not saying you were, but I'm just saying this, even if we were wronged, even if the situation should not have happened to us, the way to get through this in a healthy way is we don't judge.
That's right.
And we don't harbor bitterness. When we recognize that those things are happening, we deal with it, we let it pass through us, we recognize it, and we address it, and we confront it, and then we figure out a way for us to manage that and heal from that. But what you've just named is spot on. That's one of those ambiguous losses and grief that a lot of people do not give credit or space for. It is absolutely real. That was a connection. Human beings, we thrive off of connection.
Yes.
There's first our connection with ourselves is our grounding, of course. Your connection with your higher being, in which you're created, and then your connection with other human beings. And whenever something so significant like that happens to you, it is crucial.
Yes.
It's nothing to sneeze at. That was a relationship where you had commitments. I'm sure you shared not just the going out to lunch, but you shared personal moments. You shared experiences. I'm sure once that relationship ended in that manner, there were things you wanted to tell her that you couldn't, that you used to confide in it. That loss is real. So I want to say to you again, kudos for giving yourself space for that. If you haven't processed it in this manner, I am encouraging you to take the same advice that I gave the young lady that is going through the potential divorce. The same thing. Sit with yourself, give space, and give credit for what you were actually going through. It is real.
Yeah. I want to just pause real quick because there's some heavy stuff.
It is.
It's some heavy stuff. And you all know we talk about Rosalind point therapy. It's so important. Seeing someone who can help you process and navigate. Listen, I've done it and it's amazing. And listen, I don't mind going back again, because again, it helps me become a better me when I can kind of process some of the things that has transpired, some things I'm trying to work through. But I also want to say thank you for trusting us in this space, right? That's so important. And that takes courage for sharing your story with us and allowing Rosalind, myself, Andre, to kind of talk through it. Because again, there's a lot of things that we don't talk about. And that's why we created this platform, for us to be able to talk through some things and for us to help navigate and tell you, hey, we not know. We know some things, but we don't know all things. So we will point you in the direction of where you need to go get some help because, again, we care about you. So thank you again for sharing that with us. Andre, I'm going to turn it over to you. B did say thank you. I'm going to put another one out here. Our cousin Deja said, I love my parents dearly. And as I look back over my childhood, I realized that God was everything I needed, including with God being my mother and father. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you so much. And the other thing too is I love what Amikio said. So let me tell you, I'm a grief coach, but I have a grief coach.
Yes.
I believe in therapy. Listen,
Yes.
if God can bless the hands of the doctor that works on the heart, God blesses the hand of the therapist and the coaches that work on helping with your mental health, your emotional health. And for someone like me, and even Andre and Omikio in their capacities, in their spiritual capacities, the thing is that we encourage you and we invite you to remember this. This is your journey. We can give you examples, practical things. We can give you encouragement, but this is your journey to live, to face in your timing and in your way. And then you define it for you and you design it and you plan it ahead with guided, healthy support. But we want you to remember again that this is your journey.
Yeah.
You may know the definitions of things, but nobody can tell your story like you can tell it.
That's right. V did say thank you for putting a name to what she was feeling. So.
And listen, V, I promise you, and I promise everybody, and I know y'all probably are like, why is she smiling when she talks about grief? Because I know the transformation that once you get over that bridge and once you go through that bridge, grief is a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful teacher. And what I want you just to know this is that just remember that. Just remember that. Grief is a teacher. It's a guide. It is a comforter in a lot of respects. When you have those moments, what we call grief outbursts that people will think and say, oh, they're not over it. No, that's not always the case. A lot of times that's grief saying, give yourself space to feel what you're feeling, to acknowledge that moment. And B, once you're able to name a thing, then you're able to start making meaning of it for yourself. And that goes for B and everybody. Once you can name it, that's the first big jump.
Okay, so we got a correction real quick.
Sure.
She said, no, Dad never abused her.
No, I didn't get that. There was
no. So in the, it looked like it was that when I was reading it. So we want to just kind of clarify.
Okay.
Right? She said he saw it in his lifetime with his family. So no, her dad didn't touch her. He cut off her being a daddy's girl. To him, disconnecting himself from her in order not to be abused of what he saw in his younger days. In the South, incest was rampant. So that's what she was trying to say. It wasn't until she found out the why behind his change that she grieved. So she was trying to type fast. So I thank you for clearing that up.
Thank you,
right?
Michiko.
If anybody's on this call that have experienced that, we are always going to tell you to go to therapy. But I thank you, my sister, for saying that, because I want to lead into Rosalind just a little bit. Then I'm going to toss it over to Andre as well, just so you can kind of close the loop on what Michiko stated and just clarify it for us.
Sure. Yeah, Michiko, I didn't take that he abused. I heard the word accused. He was being accused of that. And so I just wanted to say, I just wanted to bring that out whenever we talk about those words, that those are trauma thing. Not that it happened to you, but thank you for clarifying that, because that does put a different twist on it. But you are right. So it sounds like, and Michiko, again, correct us, and you're so good at this, and thank you for being vocal and transparent. So he withdrew because of societal standards, stereotypes, and possible judgment. And as a result, that impacted your relationship with him and how he related and engaged with you. And while he was doing what I could imagine he thought was the right or the best thing to protect him, his family, the relationship, and any judgment and any accusations, he withdrew, however it impacted you. So yes, it was an ambiguous loss, and the good example, right? I got you, Michiko. And what makes this such a challenge, yet really poignant example, is that this is an example of someone he wasn't choosing to abandon.
Yeah.
That wasn't his intent. And he wasn't choosing to create distance. He was just trying to create a boundary that looked healthy to society. And that's what happens when we as a society, we don't understand what healthy relationships look like. We taint relationships, or we put judgment on people's relationships based off of our perspective. And it may not even be the reality. So Michiko, please tell me if I was spot on after the clarification or not.
There you go. There you go.
Michiko, have
All right, Andre.
Okay. This is good.
Good.
We came in the house and said, man, what am I going to wear? I always change my shirt. And I thought about grieving and the word transition. And I looked at this shirt and it reminded me of construction. And sometimes we have to change some things, refigure some things, do some things differently. And sometimes we have to restructure our lives and our lifestyle and how we approach certain things. So this shirt just kind of reminded me of, you see people on the road. I heard you mention the word bridge earlier. So even with the bridge, sometimes some things fall apart and it have to be restructured, have to be reinforced. So, and that's, sometimes grief does that to us. We have to gather ourselves sometimes. We have to just take a moment to think about, okay, this is what this means to me, because this is what that meant to me.
Right.
So now that I no longer have this connection, what I do moving forward? What do I put in place now? What do I reconstruct now? What do I do with this space that's in my heart, in my mind also, to get through this? What's the healthy way? What's the helpful way? So that's why I have this big bright orange shirt, because it reminded me of this topic.
I'm also smiling, Andre, because you know what I'm noticing and getting to know you more. You're processing in real time. And notice what Andre just did is what we encourage you to do. So I said that in the beginning and kept saying it in the beginning. And now Andre put it in his own words, applied it to his life, applied it to his perspective, applied it to his own insight making. That is what you do. You get the knowledge, you get the language, and then you start to apply it to how it applies to you.
Yes. So got a couple things in YouTube. Ashley said, I always wondered who counsels the counselors. I'm sure they need someone too. Listen, we are both coaches on here. We got coaches and therapists and everything else. Listen, because it's a lot. Life is a lot. And if you try to sit and try to figure this stuff out by yourself, yes, we definitely align with God that He is the center of our life, but He's also positioning people, experts, specialists in these positions to help us navigate these things. So He's given talents to a multitude of us, but we definitely need to listen. I got a coach. Let me tell you.
Listen, Ashley, that was such a great call out, right? So you picked up where I said I have my own therapist, I have my own grief coach. Guess what? I have my own network of other grief coaches.
Yes.
And then I also have my own network of people that I say, listen, you know what I do for a living? And even outside just going to Trader Joe's, there's something about coaches and therapists, people just automatically are drawn to us even before we open our mouths. But I think it's probably because we listen and we have that open energy. Thank you, Tanika. And they will come and just share. And it's a blessing and it's an honor. However, and we do also need container holders for us too. So we have that. And if your coach or counselor does not I would pause a little bit and
Yeah,
rethink the
absolutely.
engagement.
You need help too. There's another comment in YouTube, and it said, "What about grieving a prior version of yourself?"
Oh yeah.
Seems like a good conversation. Oh yes, I love that. Grieving a prior version of yourself. Ooh.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
transition.
Yeah.
It's a transition. That I
Mhm.
wouldn't call an ambiguous loss. I would just call that a grief and transformation. It's a
Mm.
release. You are releasing some things. You might be giving up some things, which might also come with that. You might have to change some relationships, dynamics, behaviors, where you used to go, what you used to do.
Mhm.
Also means that some of your beliefs are shifting. And so sometimes somebody may not understand that, and folks might kind of distance themselves from you or either need to catch up to you. And it's a real journey. And it's another form, what I call that's deep, right? What another form that I call where you are in a critical incubator ICU stage.
Mm.
Because it's a sacred transformative time, and you got to be
Mhm.
careful about who's around you, because there are some people that they're still trying to adjust to the new you, and it's not the new you, it's just the more not even evolved, the more authentic you. You're just becoming a
Yeah.
greater version of who you really are, and
Yeah.
it's real. Trust me, I did a
Mhm.
2-year sabbatical around that. I had to
Yeah.
shut everything and most people off except for my trusted confidants, because I
Mhm.
was totally shifting.
Yes. So I want to, and I'm looking at time, and we got time for one more question. But before I ask that question, I want to invite you back, because I think we just hit the tip of the iceberg on
I
this.
know.
Like, I feel like we still got some stuff to kind of vet out a little bit.
We
So
sure do, Mikio.
if you're willing to come back in 2 weeks, we would love to have you back. There is a couple other things that we're going to be talking about, but this right here is good. And I feel like we got a few more things to kind of digest a little bit. So would love to come back. See, they already saying it. Please come back. Please come back.
Got it,
So
Tanika.
see. So I'm
Yes,
saying, yeah.
I
But I'm
will.
going to ask this question, and then
Yes, ma'am.
I want to toss it over to Andre as well. So let's talk about what grief actually feels like, right? Because that's complicated in itself, right? Many people don't realize that they are grieving. They call it depression, anxiety, just dealing with a difficult situation. So, what are the signs of someone who is actually experiencing grief? And then, what about that guilt? Because that's another piece that come along with it. So, two-part question.
I'm always leery about answering this question.
Mm-hmm.
And Mikio, you know why, I think.
I know.
Because the signs look different for different people, for different scenarios.
Well, give us what you see. How about that?
Okay.
Okay.
So for instance, you might see a deep sadness, and a sadness that the person just cannot get past.
Yeah.
You might see someone that is constantly ruminating, which is different than needing a space to vent, needing a space for somebody to listen. You might see an intense anger that they just can't get past. And it's not just that they can't get past it, because grief is not something for you to get past, but that anger, they're allowing it to control their behaviors in an unhealthy way. You might see someone who has checked out from their day-to-day activities, their day-to-day norms, and not picking up something else in a more healthy way, right? The uncontrollable emotions. And we're not to be confused with grief outbursts, but they just can't even manage the day. They can't manage through without being able to manage their emotions. What about numbness? Numbness is a part of it as well, because your nervous system, in some respects, and depending on what the loss is and the level of grief and the type of grief and the significance of it, it is a shock to your nervous system.
Yeah.
It's a shock to the nervous system. That's emotionally, psychologically. Then it's a shock to your psyche and your norm. So numbness is real, and numbness is a part of the event going into the grieving season, because a lot of times there is a disbelief there. And there is a stop of, I don't know what to do next. Or what should I do? Or this feels out of body. This is not happening, because with that change and transition, you are moving to another dimension as well. You're never the same after grief, because grief is inviting you to another level anyway. That helps.
I have a comment in the YouTube. Well, first they said part 3, 4, and 5, please. and then we have grief for me hit me years after my pops passed, simply because that version of me couldn't handle it.
So that's not the grief. The grief didn't hit you. Your decision to grieve. So grief was sitting beside you all the time, waiting for you.
Yeah.
Waiting for you to invite it in, waiting for you to face it. And I'm not defining it for you, but I'm just inviting you for a different reframe and a different lens. I remember one of my close friends, her mother passed away, and she refused to grieve because she was still dealing with the numbness, that she was the one that had to decide to take her off of the support. So she felt guilty. She felt like answering a question about guilt, that she didn't deserve to grieve because the weight of that choice was left to her by her sibling. So she said, I don't even want to, I'm not ready. Grief was there because she was inboxing me and telling me how she was feeling. The grief was all over her, meaning that it was there waiting for her to release.
They responded with, I like that. So
all right.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. All right. I'm going to toss it over to Andre because we are at time, but we'll come back in 2 weeks because
that's what Omikyo and Andre and everybody, we got to also talk about what abandonment looks like and the mislabeling of the feeling of abandonment, because it's not necessarily what we've been taught. And in some respects, it's not really abandonment. That also too could be a level of meaning making as well. So we got 3, 4, 5, whatever. God's perfect number might be 7.
We got some things to talk about. So I'm going to hand it over to you. Let's go ahead and close out. But again, coming back in 2 weeks, I will have the information out there. Rosalind and myself will be sharing it. So we definitely want you to invite people to come, and I'm going to pass it over to Andre.
Okay, well, first of all, thank you all again for joining, taking your time out of your evening to just sit with us and to talk, to share your heart, to share your life, to share your journey. So thank you. Secondly, to our daughter, Ashley, we talked about counselor. There is a wonderful counselor. I'll lead you to Isaiah 9:6. I won't go into it, but read Isaiah 9:6. And lastly, this is a topic we can go on and on about because it's so relevant.
Yes.
It's so now, it's with us every day. And we can't undo it.
I want to read this post. It said, I found you guys because of the prayer Andre and I shared. Thank you so much. I'm not sure what your name is because I only have the @ and like your username. I would love for you to tell us what your name is so Andre knows how you all connected. But he said, I found you guys because of the prayer that you and shared. So
to God be the glory. Thank you for finding us. Thank you for the prayer. Thank you for allowing me.
Yes.
Thank you for being the vessel, Andre. Thank you.
That's my prayer every day. You're welcome.
Yes.
So, with that being said, this is something we're all going to think about once we get off this line. who we miss, how much we miss them, the food they cooked, and everything else that might come to mind. And it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
Feel what you feel. Get through it the best way you know how at the moment. And continue to come back and learn with us.
Yeah.
And teach us some things. We might not know. We don't know everything either. So, let's learn together. Let's grieve together. Let's get through it together.
Yeah.
As people, as family, and as God would want us to.
Absolutely.
So we thank you all again. And until we meet again, God bless you and keep you. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you for tuning in.
When words were hard to find, we never gave up on love, no, 'cause you made a promise you'll always be